Hello and welcome back. This is Sherry with Heart and Soulful. I'm in the studio today working on my altered book journal that's going to be super chunky by the time I'm finished with it. But I thought I would share another video today. I think this is number 8. So if you're joining me for the very first time, welcome. I'm going to put a link to the playlist for this entire project down below in the description. And then any materials and things that I end up using, I'll try to also include those down below. So I'm working on a spread today that started out as 2 corner pockets, and it kind of made it a fun one to do a video for because I'm doing it not a total mirror image, but similar enough that it's one whole picture, so that I have put together one side and I can show you what I did on the other side that isn't put together yet. So we are here, and I'm going to kind of show you a little. I don't know if this is going to end up in the book or not, but I wanted to show it to you so that you could kind of see where my idea started and how it's kind of gone a completely different direction. But this may or may not end up in here. So I'm going to take it out for right now. If you've been following along, you'll know that I've done a couple of like little fun mechanical type things. And so my idea for this page, when I first opened it up and realized it was 2 corner pockets, I kind of thought of a butterfly opening. If you've been watching and following along so far, the 2 that I've done have been things with wings. So I kind of thought I would try to do this whole journal about things with wings. So I thought this one could be a butterfly one. Well, you can see there's no butterflies on it at this point anyway. But that was my original idea. So I looked up maybe how to do like pop-up cards. And for cards, there's always a center thing and then the other parts that stick up. I would have had to put the center one here. I may still try to do something like that, but because I hadn't tried it before, I just wasn't sure if it was going to work. And so my idea was kind of dead in the water in a way. And then I don't have any large butterflies already that would have fit on this, and I don't have any butterfly stamps or anything like that. So I just wasn't sure where I was going to head with it. And I had this Tim Holtz card, and I really liked the colors of these butterflies, and I thought I could cut one out. That wasn't quite big enough, but I could have done something like that. And I really like these colors. They kind of, you know, went with my book a little bit. They're a little different, but, you know, you're only seeing it on a white card. But I could see the colors in here, and I was starting to pull together the papers that I might want to use for this page. And it started out actually with just the ones here in the center. And I'll show you what I ended up using because I decided that corner pocket also looked like mountains. So my idea, I thought, well, there's butterflies in the mountains. Maybe I do kind of a mountain forest thing because that's where I live. And then, you know, incorporate some butterflies that way. Because I still have not given up on the butterfly idea. But I didn't know where to go with it. I really didn't have a starting off point. So I started going through some papers, and these are just really bad photocopies. I haven't put together my kit yet. I'm kind of waiting to see which papers I actually end up using, but these are some of the ones that I did with my gel plate, and I picked some really dark grungy ones to use for this. I ended up using this part, this one, and this one, just those 3 papers to do my collage on my mountains. And I'll take this away so that you can kind of see. So I started by, my corners were still sharp at this point, and I just started by tearing up the different papers and kind of alternating them so that they would just have some interest, and just decoupaged them right on top of my pocket. So I was working with this type of shape and just decoupaging as if it was one mountain. And it was pretty dark. I mean, these colors are you can see a little darker than what I ended up with. I don't know if you can see that, but they were. So at that point, I didn't have any of this here. So I was really kind of just looking at this. And it was just kind of a dark blob. So I thought, okay, I need to maybe lighten it up, have it blend in a little bit better in kind of this foggy kind of look here. So I just used my white gesso watered down and just, you know, kind of smeared a little bit on where all the little joins were of my paper. And I had also used some vintage photo distress oxide just to kind of get rid of those white paper torn edges. And it was just kind of a muddy looking thing, which I was okay with because it's just, I wanted just kind of this background of mountains. So I kind of took most of my white gesso up. You can see it's just really slight. I kind of took most of that up with a baby wipe and just left a little bit there. And I don't know if you can see any shimmer, but I also sprayed a little of my, this sparkle spray that this sheer shimmer that I like to use. So I had put a little bit of that on there too. And I was liking it more. And then I knew I was going to want to put some trees. But there was just this kind of, it looked more like a volcano to me. And when it was really straight, I didn't really like it for mountains at all. So I just started tearing that edge just to kind of give it a more rugged shape. And I liked that. I just distressed the edge with some, I think, walnut stain for this edge to have it be a little bit darker. And then I needed to do something for this background. So at that point, I thought, I want some sky there, and it's so dreary looking, and the rest of my book so far has a little bit more color, even though it's moody color. So I thought I need to get some blue up here somehow. So I had started kind of just putting some speckled egg ink, you can kind of see from my ink pad on it, and that didn't really work, and it wasn't the right color. And I really kind of wanted to bring out something a little brighter, some turquoise maybe. So if I can find my paper, I grabbed a couple more of I grabbed this one, and then that was the first pull on the gel plate. And then I had a second pull that was this one that ended up being with more white on it. So I decided to use this one for the sky because that's kind of like clouds. But I really liked this one too. And I thought, you know, we have lots of rivers and creeks and things where we are too. So maybe I would do something that's kind of that arrow pattern, do something along here to kind of repeat the blue. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting things down, I think. So this I really didn't do anything to. I just tore it in half. But you can see it wasn't going to be big enough to cover up everything that was going to show. So I had to come up with something to fill in that space. So first I'm going to just glue this down because I didn't really do anything else to this. And I'm just using some of my art glitter glue. You could also use glue stick for this because it's just going on another piece of book page, and I'm not going to be doing anything else to it, but I have this handy here, so it'll just be quick. So that's just going to go up here. Now I have a notch here because this is going to be a pocket. So actually probably what I should have done, and I can still do, is I should have distressed this edge. And if I'm going to do that wax thing like I did on the previous ones, I should have done that maybe first so the wax doesn't bleed through this paper. So since I've just stuck this down already, I'm going to go ahead, I think, on the inside of this one, and I'll do the washi tape or some kind of tape for that. So I'll do that later. I don't need to do that now. So then I needed to figure out what was going to go in this space to cover up this little bit here. So my idea for that was I had been using a book page to sop up in previous videos. You probably saw me do this with this actual piece. I was cleaning up ink off of my mat here, my work surface, and it had pretty much covered that whole piece of paper with all these different distress oxides and inks. And so I really liked that for a contrast, but still to look like mountains. So I just tore that piece of paper in half. And I thought I'll use half over here and half over here, and I'll cover that little spot. But of course, it didn't go all the way up again. It's just half a piece of book page. So I thought I can stagger it for another pocket to be like another row of mountains in a mountain range. So to do that, I had this all wet. I had a little bit of white showing, So I went ahead and finished spritzing that on just to cover the whole page. And then I sprayed also, I've been using this Antique Bronze Mica spray. So it's that kind of copper color one. I sprayed some of that on it, but really I need to do it after because I end up doing something else to this and it kind of made that go away. So I don't want to waste it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this onto a piece of heavier cardstock because otherwise this would be just a delicate pocket. So I took a piece of scrap cardstock that I had in my scrap box and cut it to the size of my book page and tore it along the same, relatively the same line of this one. So then my other half is relatively the same line of the other half of this piece of paper. And you can see that I went ahead while it was wet and scrunched it up because I don't want it to look just like flat book page. I want it to look like Rugged Mountain. So I'm leaving it kind of wrinkled. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and just use a glue stick. And I'll put it over this. And just glue this down, leaving all my wrinkles as much as I can. I just want this to be sturdier for my pocket. So I'm just gluing that down like that. Nope, I should move it up to the edge there. I'm more worried about this edge being sturdy than down here. So you can see it did flatten out some of my wrinkles, but I left some of them there, so that's good. So that is going to be my other set of mountains, but I don't want to glue it in there yet because I want to add some trees to that. So I'll get rid of this. Now for the trees, I happen to have this little stamp set, and I looked it up to see if I could find it again. I've had this for quite a while. I believe I bought it at Michael's. I remember buying alcohol inks and things at one time, and I got it then, so I don't know if it came as part of a kit. I don't have the packaging for it because I bought it before I was ever dreaming of doing videos, so I don't know what kit it came in, but I really like it because it has these forested trees and then a few other things. So to do the trees, I decided I wanted them to just kind of be background also. And I'm not good enough at stamping that I wanted to stamp right onto my book. So I just took a piece of white tissue paper that I'm going to use for my stamping. And then I have archival ink in ground espresso and black soot. And I decided just to kind of give it some interest that I would go ahead and I would cover my whole stamp with the black soot, but then I would also just tip the top of the trees with some ground espresso. And if all the ink doesn't come off on this one, I actually don't care because I don't really like that is such a straight defined line at the bottom for my project. You can see that when I put them down, you see that dark line through there. And I think one thing I could have done differently is tore that a little more ragged on the bottom of those trees. I'm going to kind of fix it, I think. Or I could have taken and just dabbed maybe a little gesso, watered down, just to kind of blend it in with my mountains more. So I didn't do that on this side, but that's why I kind of like to show you all my mistakes. I mean, I clearly don't have a ton of experience with doing things like this, and so I'm always kind of experimenting. So I need to do a few of these because I want lots of trees. So I'll speed this up so that you don't have to watch all of this. Okay, so now I have 4 sets done. I might need more than that, but this will at least get me started. So I use a water pen to try to cut these apart in it makes it a little bit easier. And if they're not perfect, you know, again, they're just background, but this will kind of help me tear those out. Okay, so I have a bunch of trees and I want to cover to here. So I know that my mountains are going to be about here. So to know where to lay out my trees, I can kind of just do it lightly in pencil where my pocket is going to be. You can't really see that very well, but I know there's kind of a line there. So I know that my trees on this one need to be kind of out here. So maybe I'll start with this one and see how that looks. Just kind of peeking up there. And then maybe this, that one there, like that. And then these others I can do here. Okay, so I'm going to use some, let's see. I'm going to use some Liquitex matte medium. And I think I'll just pour a little there. And this is why I shouldn't have or didn't need to do the sparkle stuff on this yet, because I kind of end up hiding it with these. So I can kind of see those peeking out, and then these kind of peeking out here. Oops. So that'll go there. And then here, you want to start with the top ones and then layer over the top of them. So I might actually take out a little bit of this black from the bottom. I could have just not stamped all the way down too. That would have, but I want it kind of rougher, I think, like that for those top ones. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. I've got my trees. I have my pocket with other trees that can go back here. So I just need to glue that down. Now, I need to put, I did it on this side, you can't really see, let's see, is I put a gusset just on this side and then on this edge too. I think actually I put it on this because it was a loose pocket. This one obviously is part of the book, so I can't put one here. But I did one on both sides of this. So to make a gusset, I just had made up a bunch of these ahead of time. They're just little, some craft stock, cardstock scrap again. And I cut them about 3/4 of an inch, just make a bunch of them at different, whatever scrap length I have, and then I'll cut them to length as I go. So I'm just gonna find a scissors. This will just give me a little bit more room in my pocket for a card. And then if you have a scoring to fold these in half, this is really kind of thick and it's not as easy to fold as cardstock. You can just, you know, if you don't have a scoreboard, that's okay. This is just like a little tool. I forget what it's called, but it's like for modeling clay and stuff. And then I just grab a ruler to kind of It doesn't even have to be perfectly in half or anything. But I just kind of make a little mark with this. And that's usually enough to give me a little bit of a score to fold it. And you can see that one I didn't even get folded in half. It's not really critical. So I'm gonna put this one over here. You can also do the same thing using a bone folder. Okay, now for this pocket, you have two options when you put it in here. You can glue the bottom so that you don't have to have too large of a card, or if you want it to go all the way down, then just leave that open. So I'm gonna leave that open on this one. And then I need to just make sure that my little, I make it down as far as I need to, but that I leave them up as high as I can. So now I have a little pocket here, and then I'm gonna have a pocket here because I'm gonna do another little gusset on this side, and this scrap is big enough. So I'll just trim a little off of that one. And then this one, obviously, I do want to glue the bottom also. So just glue on the little flap and then glue along the bottom of my page. And then this is where little clips come in handy. Okay, so I have my mountains. These are a little sparkly, my sky, and then I need to put my other little band. And when I did this one, I don't think I put a gusset on it, and I should. I made a little tuck here. And I think on this one I will put the gusset so that I have more room. I can stick something, let's find something small. You know, I can put a little something in there, but it just can't be very thick. So if I put a little gusset, I can have it be thicker. So I think I might do that. Okay, so for this little band, it's already thick enough because I used one strip, which was just Bookpage, but then I also used this piece of paper that was the hammer mill, so it's thicker. So by putting that little strip on top of this, it's thick enough now for my little belly band or little tuck, whatever you want to call it. So I just need, we're going to do 2 gussets on this one, since I don't know why I always forget those. Oh, I have 2 cut already here from my little offcuts. I just have to remember to do these because I think it helps, but I don't always remember. There. So for this, I want to go on the little flaps, the outside, and then along the bottom. And try to line it up with the other one. Okay, that's my page. I love how it turned out now, but I can tell you, I struggled the last couple of days because I couldn't get the butterfly thing out of my head. So I made a bracelet instead, and that was actually really nice to do. I haven't been making jewelry much lately, and so I've really missed it. So I'm going to try to be much better about balancing and doing both. So the next thing I need to do is make cards for these. And like I said, I still haven't gotten the butterfly idea out of my head because, you know, we have butterflies in the mountains. My problem was two things. I thought these were a little big for what I wanted to do because my second idea for the butterfly thing was this little deal. So when I was looking for a pop-up butterfly idea for here, in my mind, originally it was that it just opens and it's half a butterfly, half a butterfly. I was not really ready to try that for this. I've been thinking about it more lately, so maybe by that end page I do try it because I have an idea how it might go together. But I have to try it on something else first, I think. So the second thing that I had seen that I kind of liked was using the spiral as kind of a pop-up thing. So how it should work is I took a 3-inch hole punch and punched 2 pieces of music paper so that it would be thicker. So actually this is 2 pieces of music paper and possibly a piece of cardstock in between, I think I did. So it gave it some durability. So once you have your circle, and it could be any size, you know, it needs to fit on your page, you just start cutting a spiral freehand. So it's not perfect, but it works, you know, so you have the spiral thing. So in a perfect roll, what you would do is you would mount it to one side of your page. We're going to just do this for right now because I'm not sure I want to add it. And then you would put a piece of sticky back or glue or whatever and just close your book. And that way it will put it exactly where it needs so that your book will operate still. So we're going to say it's going to be about there. So then I end up with this little spirally thing, which I really kind of like. For me, it's kind of metaphor in a way. It's like the wind. It's really can be windy. We get these just really amazing gusts of wind in the mountains that sound like waves in the ocean crashing. And I just love that. And so to me, it was like, you know, this represented wind, those big gusts that we get. And then also using the music paper, it's kind of like a sound of music, or, you know, the wind makes music, or the creeks sound like music, that whole thing. So for me personally, I kind of like that whole idea. And then I thought I could attach little butterflies to this spiral, you know, so that they would close but open, and then you'd have butterflies in here. So it's kind of, I haven't given it up yet, but I just haven't been ready to try it. Part of it is I don't have butterflies, like I said. I had this little card that's Tim Holtz, and these are small enough, you know, that they would be cute on there. I don't want them to be too big. But they're a little brighter color than I was wanting to put in here. I really liked these are the same. It's the same page, but it's kind of washed out looking. So I could do this, cover it with tissue paper and then cut them out and try that. I just haven't decided because I really like this one. But then most of these I think are too big for that idea. And I hate to cut these up because cutting them up just a section makes a nice card. So I might, you know, do it and put a card in here. I don't know. Or it ends up on another page. I'm not sure. So I have these still that I can use for parts of my, you know, for cards. I have this little bit left too. I really kind of like this one in here too. Just so I can kind of jazz it up more, you know, and I like the little circles. I love these colors with this. So I'm thinking that could be a cute card in there. I had also made, I had some scraps. This was a scrap left off of one of the pieces I think that I used for my collage. So I thought I could actually, this piece here, I've got another piece of it, was just a piece of cardstock, cream colored cardstock. And I was just playing around. I wasn't sure I was going to use the Bookpage mountains there. So I was just playing around with spraying just different oxides and inks on this, and then that mica spray, just to see if I could, you know, make my own kind of sparkly paper. And I really like how it turned out. I tried a different couple colors of it, and this was my favorite. So I thought I can just use these for a couple of cards. And so I backed it, just because I made a mess when I did this. I backed it with just a piece of this coffee stained lined paper that I had made. So I'll do the other one. And I just glue stick them together. And then cut rounded corners, because that helps it go in and out of this pocket easier. But then I tore the edge and then used some Distress, I believe walnut stain on this one, Distress ink. And then it's just kind of like another layer to my mountain range. So I kind of like that too. So I'm thinking that I'll make some cards and decorate them up, maybe for pockets, for the back pocket, like that. And then maybe something like of this paper in here, this one in here. And then I really liked this little card also. I kind of liked that on there. And this is a wood thrush, so it kind of goes with my mountain theme, and I really like the colors. So I haven't decided about the whole wind thing. It might be too much. I don't know. It may be too much. Let me know what you think in the comments. I haven't done it yet. It can always get added later. But I wanted to work on some cards next, so I will work on that and see what I can come up with, and maybe share those next time. Oh, one thing I wanted to point out too, in one of the previous, I guess it was this episode where I did this little insert, I had mentioned my attempt on rice paper. I found the little sample that I had done. And when I said it smeared, it didn't really smear as much as you can see when I glued it down. Number one, it didn't make my rice paper see-through like it does with just tissue paper. And then if you can kind of see that, it just made the letters all kind of bleed out. So they're kind of bold and thicker ink than I wanted. So I prefer how this one turned out on the tissue paper compared to this one. So I wanted to show that, because I had lost track of this. I wasn't sure I still had it. So that was just a little side note. So I'm going to work on some cards for this, and maybe even start on the next one. I have just this one, which is a double pocket and a double pocket, and then I'm to my heart. So I will work on that, and see you next time. So have a great rest of your day. Now go make something. Bye.